So there's not going to be any suppressors. There definitely isn't going to be any suppressors that are worth buying.
I built this thing from the bottom, they tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah, man, I'm talking about Willis.
Will you be PTing every day and taking a PT test twice a year now?
Well, so the standard was twice a year for the Marine Corps?
Always.
But I won't be. Fortunately, I'm retired. I don't have to.
You don't want to stay in readiness, active ready reserve.
I'm not. Am I out of it? I think I'm out. I think 50.
Is the normal draft?
I do believe I've crossed out of inactive reserve eligibility.
Is the normal draft only up to age 25, 18 to 25?
I do believe that the regular draft is 18 to 25, but that's obviously flexible depending on combat operations.
What do you think the Civil War draft is going to be?
A route. A route. It's not.
Get on this school bus.
It's not even going to be fair. Well, okay. You have to draft. You have to draft when your casualties are high. So our side will not be drafting anybody because it would so not be a fair fight.
You know, there's a lot of shootings this last week.
Yep. One a week, one every day of the week.
Churches burned down.
Yeah. I mean, again, we have two things. We have a morality crisis in this country, and we have a mental health crisis in this country. So, and again, it's like the girl that gets pregnant at high school. They have to move her to another high school because then all the other girls will want to get pregnant. It's a thing that's catchy right now.
I don't think they move them anymore.
No, they still isolate them.
Where's the pregnant girl high school?
I don't know. Not with the regular girls.
Because you never saw. In high school, I never saw a pregnant girl ever. But then when we were taking kids to school, you'd see fucking pregnant kids.
It's because it's an actual known fact that when you introduce that into that system, girls will now want to get pregnant.
They say if you take a bunch of women and you put them in the same location, their menstrual cycles will all mesh up.
Yeah, I hear that
all
too.
That. Okay, so the dude that ran into the Mormon church, they say he was a Marine.
He was a Marine.
He had 4 flags on his
Yep.
truck. I would suspect if you look closely at those flags, those just were unfolded from Amazon. That's some shit he didn't. You think he actually had that and this was planned?
I bet he had that in his truck.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything.
Who's the child in the picture he was holding?
I don't think there's anything nefarious. Meaning, okay, obviously the act in itself was nefarious.
You don't think he's a toy soldier?
No. I think because what we're going to find out, is that there was the tipping point is going to be the church, meaning he was in some sort of this wasn't a random selection.
I can tell you what it is.
I'm sure it was his son or his child.
No. So is that his child?
I don't know.
Okay, so he was dating. So it immediately came out within like an hour of the shooting. A politician said that he was doing door to door, and actually knocked on this dude's door, talked to him. They were, trying to win him over to his side. Mm-hmm. And the dudes started talking about the Mormons and how the Mormons are the devils and they're satanic. And he had a girlfriend, and for him to marry the girlfriend, they wanted him to remove all his tattoos. And it kind of crumbled from there. So the dude's like, I have relatives that play for, BYU, and I have, several friends that are Mormons. So I didn't really want to continue to have this conversation and say anything that would spur him to be violent towards him or whatever. He's basically said, the way the conversation was going, I was kind of fearful. I had my child with me. So I just said, okay, well, thank you, and kind of backed out of there and drove away. And he was saying that this dude, really hated Mormons. And that was, they're saying that is the reason that he hit this church.
I think there's going to be another.
Now everything's saying front door. But when you look at the truck, the truck was not ran into the front door.
Just ran into the wall.
So he ran into the wall and then got out and he went through the breach point he made, or he did go through the front door?
I don't know how he got.
Do we know what the gun was? Because it looked like a little fucking chipmunk gun.
I didn't spend a lot of time. Looking at this from any other perspective of, again, we have a mental health crisis and it's that people because it's so popular in the news, people think that guns are the answer to all their problems. The only interesting thing about this, the reality is, for me, the only interesting thing about this is there are reports that he got in a shootout. He shot at police officers and they returned fire. But then there's also a report that it was actually a parishioner.
That's what I'm hearing. Security team guy.
A parishioner who was on property illegally carrying a firearm. Now,
that would be in New Jersey, right? Michigan?
Well, meaning against either church policy or what, like he was illegally carrying a firearm and he's the one that ended it, and that the reason why they pushed the police story is to cover up the fact that it was a parishioner that actually stopped it. So again, there's a lot of legality issues there, and a lot of maybe that was the story that he wanted. You don't know the details of it all, so I don't know. That's the only, again, the truth of the matter is we have a mental crisis going on in this country where individuals believe that they are going to use firearms to exact their will upon other people. The reality is, all that means is everybody needs to be armed. That's it.
Well, I mean, look at the dude. You see the guy saw the dude's head off?
No, I didn't see that.
I don't remember where that happened. It happened about a week ago. Dude was basically working at a hotel. He was like the groundskeeper or maintenance dude.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And they're like, "Hey, can you go take care of this or whatever?" And in front of his wife and kid, the dude like cut this dude's head off and then kicked it across the parking lot like a soccer ball.
Yeah.
That wasn't a gun. I mean, had that other dude had a gun, that would have stopped.
Had the wife had a firearm available, that could have saved his life.
Yeah.
Or at least gave it the eye for the eye.
What's this gun? That's this new gun that's everybody's up in arms over. It's not an SBR.
Oh, it's already.
The ATF shot it down, or
the ATF's already going after it. I don't know that. Everybody talked about it as soon as because the ATF basically said, or they went to court, and in the court they won the case. Franklin Armory won the case, and so Franklin Armory is the one that made the rifle that has rifling, but it's not twist rifling.
I don't know anything.
Okay, well Franklin Armory,
so they can sell it as a smooth bore, so it can be.
It's not. They don't sell it as a smooth bore because it has rifling, but it doesn't have twist rifling, and because it doesn't have twist rifling, it's not classified as a short barrel rifle. It's classified as a one of those other firearms, and so you can technically buy this rifle without having to do the Form 4 or Form whatever to the ATF and fingerprints and all that.
Is that this rifle that we're talking about?
No.
Okay.
And so, but that rifle, the reality is, it's a novelty. It keyholes every round that goes down range because they don't stabilize. So it's just a novelty. It's actually kind of a waste.
5.45s are, weren't they keyholing, or was that just certain ammo or certain barrels?
Probably just certain barrels. So this new rifle, I saw all the videos. Everybody did a video on this new rifle, but nobody actually showed the rifle firing or the rifle doing the thing that it does. What they did is they created an AR-15 that shoots multiple rounds. So because it basically what they did is you can get away with certain things if it shoots kind of like a shotgun. And so apparently they made this rifle this AR-15 that shoots kind of like a shotgun. I'd never seen anybody I haven't seen any videos of them shooting it being shot, the type of ammunition they're using, so I have no idea. But the ATF came out and said, yeah, no, that you can sell your stupid you can sell your stupid rifle with the straight rifling, but you can't. This other one is not going to cut it because. So what it means is the other one must actually work.
What do you mean by it shoots like a shotgun?
Because what Franklin Armory is always trying to do is
Skate around this.
skate around the definitions, and there's this definition where if it's designed specifically, so if I design it specifically to shoot multiple projectiles, then it's classified in a different thing. It's it's classified differently.
So you pull the trigger once and it shoots more
like
than
3
one.
bullets, or I don't know, one. Maybe there's, remember those 38 shotgun shells that have this? Maybe it shoots shotgun. I don't know, but it doesn't. It shoots 5.56, but it's the bullet itself, or the bullet and the design of the gun are designed specifically to shoot multiple projectiles.
So these are out in the wild, obviously. If
They sold a shit ton. I mean, they showed, apparently as soon as the case, like I don't know who bought them, but as soon as the case was done, they were completely sold out of these rifles. Again, I haven't seen anyone shoot them. Like, I haven't seen any YouTube channel or anybody out there like, oh, this is what this thing does. So I don't know. The reality is, guys, if you want an SBR, do the fucking paperwork. Stop trying to get these. All this novelty
all
shit.
this over $200 too, because most dudes doing the paper, like most guys, they already have guns registered.
Or buy, because again, the issue
I understand it. I understand it should be a crime that you have to, like, all taxation's theft. I get it, but you're skating around this shit, and when it goes bad, they're going to take all of your shit.
Well, I mean, again, like, the reality is the pistol brace null and voids SBRs. Like, it makes SBRs kind of dumb. It really does make SBRs kind of dumb, because doesn't matter what SBR is out there. Does not matter. I can get the same thing with a pistol brace on it. And I know people are going to argue, oh, it's not the same as I'd rather have a fucking, Magpul blah, blah, blah stock on it. Okay, good. But then you have to go through the rigmarole of that, where I can have the same gun that functions entirely exactly the same as your fucking, your SBR. Then you're not getting any advantages by.
Can you take one of those pistol ARs and just you can put a much longer barrel on it, right? You're not limited by what upper goes on there. Or is there a question there?
Well, there's a question of whether you take, so you can take a pistol and turn it into a rifle. The legality is when you take the rifle,
correct,
and turn it back into pistol
without SBR.
You can't go the other way. Does the pistol brace make that obsolete? Because again, I could buy. Can I? That's an interesting question. I feel like, guys, I know there's going to be a bunch of armchair commandos out there. They're going to be like, I feel like I could buy a pistol-braced AR-15 that has a 16-inch barrel on it. That's technically rifle length.
Or you
is it still? Because again, when you buy these things, when you buy them, you're registering them as a pistol. Okay, so when I buy whatever, pistol brace thing, I'm registering, it gets registered, my form, whatever the fuck it is these days, goes in, and it says pistol right on it. I get the legality of, if I put a rifle length barrel on there, the form doesn't change.
Correct.
Meaning, so when if I put a rifle length barrel on there, shoot whatever I'm going to shoot with it, and then take it off and put a shorter barrel on it, when the ATF or again, I know they can make a case for anything, but it's still going to say a pistol. Like, it doesn't, like, for example, I can get a 1911 that has a fucking 16-inch. I can get a fucking 1911 that has a 16-inch barrel on it. That doesn't make it rifle. They don't reclass. The ATF is not like, oh, now you have a rifle, you can't take that barrel out. So I don't.
So
it's all bullshit.
The SBR paperwork travels with the lower receiver.
Yes, the SBR paperwork
So
travels with the lower receiver.
SBR2 lowers, and then you can just put whatever the fuck you want on them. It doesn't matter.
That's
at that
true,
point.
and that's what most people do.
And I get it. I mean, we had a kid working here, and he's like, and all he talked about is, I want a suppressor. I want a suppressor. I want a suppressor. I'm like, why don't you go get a suppressor? Like, go get the. I don't want to pay the $200. They're gonna make them free. They're gonna, and they did, right? It's still not in effect.
No, it's not in effect.
You know who still don't have a fucking suppressor?
Yep.
You know who's not gonna have a suppressor when there's no $200 fee either?
Yeah, because the reality is, I think if again, I get it. I don't have any money, so I understand. But if you're thinking you're going to wait till 26 to get your suppressor because you no longer have to pay the tax on it,
You're gonna need it in the Civil War.
no,
I know.
you're not going to. There are going to be no suppressors. There literally are going to be no suppressors because everybody is thinking the same thing. They're thinking, oh, I'll just wait till I don't have to pay the tax stamp on it, and then I'll get a suppressor. Every suppressor company has already came out and said, we will not be able to fill the demand. All you need is 1 million people. There's 330 plus odd million people in this country. All you need is 1 million people to go out there and decide that they're going to buy any single product, and it will be out of stock for the next foreseeable future. So there's not going to be any suppressors. There definitely isn't going to be any suppressors that are worth buying.
Will there be
the ones on the ones that Brandel made in his garage out of muffler pipe and shit? Those are going to be available,
but not legal or legal?
Oh, they'll be legal. Yeah.
I thought they still have the registration. You just don't have to pay the fee now.
You're gonna register it just like a firearm. So Brandel's muffler shop manufacturing, he can still manufacture them and sell them. They just have to be. They're going to go through the normal.
So he's still going to be open to. He's going to have some kind of like Title II manufacturer. Or he's
he's going to have all that stuff, but whatever. I'm just saying it's going to be very. It's going to be.
What are you naming your muffler suppressor company?
I like just
Brandel's mufflers.
Brandel's mufflers. I love it.
Call it hot muff or like big muff or something.
Big muff.
I would oversize them. I'd want them like
Big
this
muff?
big on the
Big
end,
muff?
yeah.
Be a picture of a massive vagina that we're not
Yep.
really sure. It's kind of convoluted. Maybe it's a vagina. What suppressor company do you like? What are you a fan of?
I mean, I'm most of mine are Silencer Co. I have the. God, I can't think of the
What
original flow throughs.
Dead Air?
No, I don't have any dead air. I kind of. Again, I don't want, because here's the problem with suppressors. The problem with suppressors is all these companies, because it's a niche item, everybody has decided that they're going to have their niche way of attaching it to a rifle. And so you can't really, like, if you decide you're going to go Silencer Co. or even Dead Air, if you're going to go with these companies, you really got to go with the company, because if I buy a 5.5 or if I buy a 308 one, I want that to be able to go across some platforms, but I need the attachment device for all those platforms.
What does that
Same
cost?
thing. They're fucking expensive. I mean, the muzzle brake and the muzzle brake or flash hider, they're $100, right? Which is not that big of a deal. But again, if I buy them and put them on rifles and then I get a Dead Air, now I have to buy Dead Air shit, or whoever, it doesn't matter. I have to buy their shit to go across that platform again. Now I'm taking devices off. Your best bet is to stick with the company that, whatever company you go with first, and just be like, okay, I'm going to use that for everything.
Why are the Surefire cans so expensive?
Because it's Surefire.
That's really the only. They don't offer anything.
No, it's Surefire. It's Surefire. That's why they're expensive. They're not. I mean, what Surefire has is the same thing that Surefire had with flashlights. Meaning they were the first ones to get into it, the first ones to do it, and so they kind of cornered the market. It's kind of the same thing with the suppressors. Like, there were other suppressor companies that were before Surefire, but market-wise, like in the actual market selling suppressors, Surefire was the first, and so those prices were set. You can't really Gucci's never going to knock off their Gucci price. Like, even if you think about Surefire, we'll say early 2000s, right? If we go to just talk about their flashlights, or even the suppressors, they were the gold standard, right? That was the gold standard that everybody else was trying to catch up to. Truth of the matter is, just like most major companies, they have been sitting back and raking in their gold coins, and they haven't been innovating. So there are suppressors out there. There are suppressors out there that are better than the Surefire suppressors. But if you have government contracts, and you don't need to. So they're kind of in a sweet spot in the sense of you got to buy their flashlights, you got to buy their suppressors if you're tactical, right? So their prices probably won't ever go down. And they haven't really been innovating in a long time. And again, we come to free suppressors. We come to free suppressors. My opinion is those companies are going to start to disappear. Like, does Silencer Co. have enough footing in the market that they survive when anyone can make a suppressor? Because right now as a manufacturer of suppressors, you're manufacturing this item that no one really can have without going through the government, which means even you have to have more scrutiny on yourself. If suppressors become this normal everyday thing, now you're competing with people that are making them in their garage or wherever. And so it's going to be hard to justify $1,200 for a Surefire suppressor.
12. I thought they were like $3,000.
No, they're not way out there. They're tiered up, but they're not way out there. It's going to be hard to justify the prices that they have. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I was in New Zealand. I was in New Zealand where suppressors are almost mandatory. They are mandatory for any hunting. And so you go into the fucking largest gun store in New Zealand, and 5-gallon drums full of suppressors, right? $99. And the thing that I noticed about that 5-gallon thing of suppressors that were $99, they were all about $99. There were no Surefires in there. There were no, meaning the high end of suppressors isn't going to be able to compete with the low end. It's going to be, the truth. This is the way I think about suppressors is if they deregulate suppressors, the truth is everybody's going to own a high point suppressor. Why would you pay $1,000 for something that somebody can make for?
So a lot of suppressor guys aren't using the suppressor for the sound necessarily. They're using it for the flash mitigation for night vision. Will the lower price suppressors contain?
That's a myth. That's a myth. The guys out on the streets who are buying suppressors are not buying them for
correct.
Flash
No.
mitigation.
We're talking about
when you're talking about
other guys.
When you're talking about Delta Dan, yes, they will tell you. They will tell you that noise, because it's always how quiet. How much does it reduce signature? And the signatures that warfighters are trying to reduce is the flash. Mm-hmm. They don't really care too much about the sound. While they do care, flash is more important, right? They want to mitigate that flash, and they also want to mitigate the lollipop on the thing. So yes, will Delta Dan still be required to? Will Delta Dan still have this requirement for some sort of ninja suppressor? Probably. They will still have the requirement, and there will be companies that fulfill that requirement. But that's going to be outside of the scope of the reality of where suppressors are going. It'll just be outside of, because if you think about it, we had suppressors. There were suppressors that were used in World War II. They've been around that long, right? They've been around a lot longer than that, but like military-wise, we had suppressors that we were using in World War II. Vietnam, or probably, I haven't seen any pictures of Korea, but I'm sure that somebody used them in Korea, but Vietnam, they were using them. We used them in all the other wars preceding that. But they weren't this popular thing that everybody was getting. What has made suppressors popular is actually the kiosk machines that make it easier to get a suppressor. That's really what's made them possible, because it made it easier for people to access the ATF to get the proper paperwork and get a suppressor.
And once you're through the system and you've got your first suppressor or whatever,
you do it every time.
it speeds up.
No, you
It
do it every
doesn't?
time.
No, I know you do it every time, but once you're in there, like I know somebody just got a suppressor in like 2 days.
Yes, but that has nothing to do with has nothing to do with you being in the system. Part of the lawsuit against the federal government was wait times. Okay, so basically, part of the lawsuit was, hey, it takes a year to get this fucking thing. I'm paying you money to make this thing happen. Why is it taking a year? So what the ATF has done since the lawsuit is they have sped up how they handle those transactions, not because they're trying to do us a favor. They're not like, oh, I feel bad that it took a year, because they still have the same exact people working on these forms. It's not that they're like, oh, I felt bad that you had to wait a year and do 2 background checks because we waited so long. It's because they want to take that out of the lawsuit. So they want to be able to go into court and go, Your Honor, we're doing these in 2 days. The plaintiffs have no cause for action here because we're doing these so fast. That's the only reason why they're doing it. And I promise you, if the ATF wins the case, it has to do with wait times and something else. There was 2 things part of that case. But if the ATF wins that case, or that case gets kicked out of court because of there's no merit, we're back to 6-month wait times.
When we say kiosk, is that like a red box machine?
Yeah, it's kind of like a red box machine where you can do your fingerprints on it and you can put all your information in. And then basically what they do is they create an electronic form for you. And then that electronic form gets submitted.
I wonder what's involved with that. Like that kiosk. Does the ATF deliver that?
It's a silencer company. I can't think of the name of the company. There's actually 2 versions of that kiosk now, but I want to say I'm probably going to get this wrong. I want to say Silencer Shop,
Who sells all kinds of suppressors, right?
Sells all kinds of suppressors. I want to say Silencer Shop is the one who introduced. They were the ones that created the e-form and first.
I thought they were heavily involved in not wanting silencers deregulated.
Yes. Nobody. The truth of the matter is nobody that is in the silencer business, nobody, not Surefire, not Silencer Co. They don't want them deregulated. They don't want them deregulated because, again, if they deregulate suppressors, the control of the market ends, and now I can get a suppressor from Muff Puff Suppressors, Brandon's Muff Puffs. I can get it. I don't even, if it's deregulated, I don't even need to go through Muff Puff. I can build one in my garage. Like, think about, like, for example, solvent traps. I know you heard of solvent traps.
Yeah, it's
right?
like a filter. It looks like an oil filter.
It's basically a finished suppressor that doesn't have a hole on the end of it.
But didn't they look like diesel filters?
No, there's actually an adapter that you can buy so you can use oil filters.
I watched some videos. There were some dudes. I saw these videos going around, and these guys were like diesel tuners, and they had these diesel filters. And the ATF came, and they're like, "Hey, we wanted to ask you some questions about these things." He's like, and when they told him, he's like, "Oh no, I'm a diesel mechanic. Like I build." And he let them in and showed them, and they're like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah, because there was a. These guys made an adapter, and they made the adapter so it would go on your pistol, and then you could screw a regular oil filter on. most oil filters, most of your automotive oil filters are terrible because they just use paper. Diesel still uses steel inside their. They still use steel inside their oil filters. So a lot of people were using oil filters as these homemade suppressors. And so that's why the ATF started looking into who's buying all these oil filters.
So does the first round punch the hole through?
First round punches a hole through it, unless you make it yourself
and then
fill it yourself.
How many rounds is it?
I have no idea. I have no idea because again,
as a child,
the reality of it, I thought it was very novelty and gimmicky, and it wouldn't really work that well.
As a child, I saw suppressors made out of like 1 quart pop bottles, soda bottles, with steel wool or SOS pads, right? And they were super quiet, really quiet for about 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And then at about 5-6 rounds, they did nothing after that.
So I don't know. It wasn't worth the novelty of it. But again, going back to the solvent traps, is these guys were actually making all the baffles, everything that a suppressor has, and selling to you as just this solvent trap where you're allowing the solvent to drip in there. Now, you could get those things for like.
What's the application?
No application other than making a homemade suppressor.
Got it. It was so
Like
it wasn't something used in some other industry.
The reality is most of the people who did Form. I don't know why I keep forgetting this. Form 4, I think. But most of the people who manufactured their own suppressors at home, like we know a guy that did it. That manufactured a suppressor at home and then sent his form in and had the ATF approve the manufacturer of his suppressor at the house and got that thing. That's what they're using. They're using a solvent trap. They're buying a solvent trap, and then they're like, hey, ATF, here's my fingerprints. Here's my shit. I'm going to make a suppressor. Can I make a suppressor? And then ATF's like, go ahead. Here's your stamp. And then they make because all you have to do is drill that hole, right? So now you have a complete suppressor. And those things were going for $100. So that's going to be the standard. The standard's going to be $100. And if you're a gatekeeper, Silencer Co's one of them. If you're a gatekeeper and if I have a choice between a suppressor that is 99% the same.
Were they rugged?
Yeah, they make them out of the same materials. Right? They make them out of the same materials. But again, it's that gatekeeper issue. Because those things are regulated, because they're regulated, the silencer companies are in the business of making money. There's no money to be made on $100 suppressor. There's just not. There's no money to be made on that. Not for a company like, again, Surefire is a little bit different because Surefire is kind of diversified a little bit, meaning they have flashlights. You kind of know about the suppressor side of the house because that's just Surefire dabbling, really. So they have their fingers in other pies. But if you're a strict silencer, like for example, Silencer Shop, that's what Silencer Shop sells is suppressors, access to said suppressors. If I don't have to go through the gate anymore, your whole business model is dead. So of course those people don't want them to be deregulated. That's probably my conspiracy would be it was actually those companies, the companies that currently build suppressors, are the reason why they just reduced the tax and they didn't deregulate them. That they just reduced the tax and not deregulate them. Because, again, you still got a little gatekeeping going on. So, yeah, to have any of those companies wave the flag and be like, we want all suppressors totally deregulated and anyone can buy them at any time or whatever, they're lying. Because that destroys their business model. It really destroys their business model. Any muffler shop, any credible muffler shop can make a good suppressor.
So what do you think the Hegseth stuff was all about?
Well, exactly what it turned out to be.
You think we heard all of it? There wasn't some conversations and skiffs or...
Well, no, I think we heard. I think we heard.
Do you think they publicly faced every word, the whole thing? That's
well,
really what it was about?
I don't know if it's all been publicly faced, but
like
yeah.
It was really... We brought all the generals from all around the world to tell them they can't be fat no more?
We brought them... Well... What most people don't don't understand because they haven't been in the service. They haven't been in the service. Is we have created this political monster in the General Corps officers that somehow believe that they don't have to follow the orders of the President of the United States, that they don't have to follow the orders of the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War. We've created this monster, and it's a real monster because, again, it's me being fat. It's me being a fat body telling you, you have to be in standards. Well, that's moronic. That is all politics. It's politics. It's the general allowing, it's all politics. And so all this really was bringing everybody in and being like, hey, some of you are fired. I am sure that everybody, because it's the reality is it's praise in public,
reprimand.
Yeah, reprimand in private.
Counseling.
There's some of those individuals already know that they're fired. Like already know that their jobs are over. Which is good. Because again, you can go back 3 years.
I think
I said this. Too many fucking generals. And what that means is for every general, every star general that we have sitting around in an office discussing what color paint the wall should be, there's 100 warfighters that are missing from the ranks. That's just the general. That's not including the 200-man staff that he has following him around, catering to his every donut need. We don't need those guys. We don't need them. When we had 12 million men in uniform, we had 43 somewhere in there generals. We've got 200 plus generals now and 5 million men in uniform. It's ridiculous. Like it's not the scales of balance have teetered so wrongly that we don't need them. If you're not, I don't think he went far enough. I don't think the president and Pete went far enough. I feel like that for every officer, there has to be a direct command beneath him. Meaning, if you're a 4-star, or if you're a star general, you better have a fucking division command behind you. Like it should be you, division commanders. It not you, 15 other generals that do nothing, and a staff. It should be. It should, because right now the problem is the pyramid is upside down. The pyramid is upside down. The pointy part of the pyramid is where the troops are. The fat top part where nobody fights, that's where all the generals are.
Yeah,
it needs to be flipped over. We need to flip it back over. And a general, the reality is generals and admirals, they should be a fucking rarity. Like if you see a general, you should be like, oh shit. Some shit is going down if you see it, but they're fucking commonplace and they're not only are they commonplace, but they don't do anything.
It's corporate bloat.
That's exactly what it is. It's corporate bloat. Well, again, it's political influence. So general officers, there's this political influence part of what general officers have, and that is why that portion of the military has gotten so fat, because it's this political influence that gets used. Again, I go back to, I would go back to Pete kind of whoop whoop the Marine Corps a little bit, like he was like whoop whoop Marine Corps. But if I was a Secretary of War, I'd be like, all you fucking Marines, every Marine officer, you're fighting for one billet, Commandant of the Marine Corps. You ain't gonna be secretary of this, commander of this. You're fighting for Commandant of the Marine Corps. And all you enlisted motherfuckers, you're fighting for Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. You're not going to be Sergeant Major of all forces in Afghanistan or Sergeant Major of Marine Corps. That's the only thing that you do when you join the Marine Corps. You're fighting to be fucking Marines. Because, again, we've allowed Marine Corps leadership to creep outside. We've allowed Marine Corps leadership to creep outside of the Marine Corps And that is no longer in the best interest. That was never in the best interest of the United States Marine Corps. Never was. Never was. No. There shouldn't be a sergeant major in uniform. Shouldn't be a Marine Corps sergeant major in uniform. I know that gives the Army a lot of power, but the Army's the bigger service, guys. Sorry. There shouldn't be a sergeant major in the Marine Corps that outranks the sergeant major of the Marine Corps. There shouldn't be a general that's roaming around that has more power than the commandant of the Marine Corps, period. And the reality is, if you have all those officers fighting for that billet, then there's probably a good chance, not 100%, but there's a good chance that we're going to get the right guy in that billet instead of just filling that billet with some political hacks, which is what we've been doing.
What do you think about Trump saying that Ukraine could win the war against Russia? Where did that all of a sudden come from?
Well, again, Trump has...
Because wasn't it just like 6 weeks ago Trump said they're going to have to give up some land?
Because you have to remember, Trump is always about the deal. He's always about the deal. And he came up with a deal. And that deal did give up. He came up with a deal, and that deal did give up some land, and it did give concessions to the Russians. And Putin said, fuck off. So, deal's off. Trump's next move is to make Russia pay for not making the deal, right? He's gonna make them pay for not making the deal. It's, people... The problem is Trump deranged sentiment is so bad that people just can't see the forest through the trees. People should be happy that he attempted to create a deal that both sides could be happy with. Not perfectly happy, but happy with. And because the enemy of our enemy decided, fuck off, I can do better, now he's got no choice but to back Ukraine and force Russia into the corner. So it's not a like, people will be like, oh, he's wishy-washy, he's flip. No, he's not. He's just trying to create the circumstances that get you a deal. That's what people in the real world do. They don't just throw fucking money in the toilet and flush it down the toilet and hope it doesn't clog the toilet.
Ukraine's losing 1,000 people a day. It's
possible.
What do you think Russia's losing? If Ukraine's at 1,000,
I'll bet. I mean, because again, most people, when we're talking about casualties, when people put up casualty numbers, what we're talking about is actually wounded and killed in action. So it's usually like a 3-to-1, meaning that there's 3 people wounded to 1 person killed, or is it 6-to-1? I think it might even be 6-to-1. Either way, so that 1,000, that 1,000 sounds like a lot, but that's people being wounded on the front line that you don't know what the numbers are of those guys that are coming back. And Ukraine is recycling guys as soon as they can get as soon as they can get a wood leg on them, they're going back out because they have to. Russia, I'll bet. Because again, it's a very interesting place. I will bet where Russia is attempting to gain ground, their numbers are double or triple. So maybe 3,000 guys a day if they're pushing to take something. Because the problem, and I really don't understand it, is the Russians they're fighting like it's fucking, like it's Stalingrad World War II. Like they're still getting guys online and pointing guns at them and be like, you need to go over there. It doesn't make any sense that they're doing that. But again, this is the quagmire you're going to run into. Like right now, there's a lot of people going, oh, I don't know if we're going to be able to fight China. I don't know if the Chinese have so much, they're superior, they're going to do... The Chinese have the same fucking problem that the Russians do. They kill all competent leadership. So there's no competent leadership. Yeah, there's some generals that are like, We can take Taiwan. We can do it. They've tried to take Taiwan 3 times. 3 times. Do you know that there is a fucking Taiwanese occupied island that is less than a mile off the coast of China, and they haven't been able to do it? Like, they haven't been able to do it. They can't take it. Why? Because, again, the problem with communism, the problem with those type of regimes, doesn't matter where it's at. Doesn't matter if it's Russian. Doesn't matter if it's fucking Chinese. Doesn't matter if it's, the Democratic Party, is they kill all competent leadership. You're scared of people who are competent. You don't want competent leadership. It's why a fucking million-man Chinese army could go up against the UN and not win in Korea. Like, not win, because they kill all competence. There's no competence in leadership. If you think a bugle charge up a hill against machine guns is a viable solution to combat, you're fucked. You're not going to win. You're never going to win. As a matter of fact, people keep talking about China as some sort of unstoppable juggernaut. First off, everything that they build in China that we go, oh my God, they built an aircraft carrier. Think about everything that they build. Everything they build is a copy of something we built 30 years ago. Even the B-2, like they just came out with their version of the B-2 bomber. It's fucking 30 years old, guys. The Chinese aren't, they're not some masterful, wishful country that is going to make this some sort of technology. They're not going to, here's the truth is, the Chinese are not going to beat the United States with conventional equipment that they've copied from us. That's not going to happen. It will not happen. The only way the Chinese are going to be able to defeat the United States is the same way that every nation power has ever defeated another nation power. That is, if they come up with a piece of technology that we are not aware of that is better than the technology we have. Meaning, let's say they come up with AI, right? They're the first to create a fucking an AI army that's able to fight without any troops. They're not going to come up with it. Because their whole industrial idea, the whole thing about communism is what we can steal from other people. If you're in China and you were smart enough, to make a Gen 7 fighter, if you're smart enough, your company is smart enough to make this aircraft that could shoot down any aircraft in the world, you're a threat to the Communist Party. You are a threat. You are a problem. We have to eliminate you because you might try and kill the rest of us with your Gen 7 fighter plane. So, that's the problem that the Russians are having, is the Russians are still fighting like it's World War II. What are the Ukrainians doing? The Ukrainians they're doing what Americans would do. They're innovating. And they're innovating and they're changing, because you have to remember, the Ukrainians were Russians. The Ukrainians were part of the Soviet Union. Their army was trained like Soviet Union, like any other Soviet Union brigades. That's how they trained. They have adapted. They have moved away from those Soviet fucking techniques and started using more Western techniques in order to stabilize and control the battlefield. Why are they doing that? They're doing that because their leaders are able to do that. You can't do that in Russia. You can't do that in China. Those formations are going to get fucking annihilated because they don't have the capability. They don't have a strong NCO corps, because again, fuck generals. Generals have not and will not ever win a war. It's our ability to have a strong NCO corps that understands the mission and is willing to adapt to said mission and win the fight. That's every single time. That's what it is. There's never this, George S. Patton everybody can praise Patton all he wants, but it was those NCOs within Third Army or Third Armor that were able to execute his wishes that made those things happen. It's that NCO Corps. The NCO Corps that we have in this country is better than any other country in the world, and those NCOs will win the day. They'll adapt. We are terrible. The United States is terrible at things we want to do, like, I don't know, stabilize Afghanistan. But in the adaptation of those wars, the troops are always winning. We didn't lose We didn't lose in Afghanistan because of combat operations. We didn't lose in Iraq because of combat operations. We won every fucking single engagement we had in those countries. Every single one of them. We lost because we have a political class that is unwilling to execute the necessity of warfare. The U.S. military has not, you can say we haven't won, but the U.S. military has won every fucking conflict they've been in since World War II. We've won every single one of them. It was the political will to make those things come to fruition. There was never political will. There was never a political will to make those things come to fruition. And that's why I say, fuck yeah, Department of War, and fuck yeah, no U.S. troops involvement anywhere in the world unless Congress declares war.
Did they say that?
No, they haven't gone that far. And that's going to be hard, but we shouldn't put a single regular military force in harm's way anywhere in the world unless Congress puts their fucking skin in it.
Do you think the Russians are pushing so many people in there to fight so that they can reduce population, less mouths to feed because of the way their economy is?
No.
They're saying they're about to start their largest draft ever.
Yeah, they're gonna. Well, because one of the things that all military leadership should be aware of, and the Ukrainians are aware of it. And the Ukrainians, as a matter of fact, the Ukrainians are trying to come up with a plan to deal with it right now. Is when do invading armies lose in Russia? As soon as the winter comes. And so what he is doing is he is filling those ranks. He's filling those ranks back up to war strength to do offensive operations in the winter. Because the Russians, I don't want to say that they're good at winter fighting, because it's usually the winter that kills. It's usually the winter that it was the winter that killed off Napoleon's army. It was the winter that killed off the Germans. But if he can reamass 130,000 troops on the border there to fight, if he can do it, and they can be, I don't want to say well trained, but decently trained, and he can have leadership that understands how to execute those operations, Ukraine's in trouble because Ukraine can't put 100,000 people there. Ukraine can't put 100,000 people on the ground. I mean, right now they're kind of doing what we would do. They have combat forces that are very mobile, and so every time the Russians try and take this city, or they can move forces in order to keep the Russians from doing that. But if you can open that lineup to where it's, a 40-mile front, a 50-mile front, 100-mile front, the Ukrainian forces are going to have a very hard time plugging those gaps.
Who's Ukraine need to fight with them in order to win this?
It depends on what you mean by win.
Well, put an end to.
The Ukrainians need to keep doing what they're doing. As long as the Russians, the reality is, we're pretty much at a stalemate right now. Like, if you look at the maps aren't changing. When you used to be able to see fucking red and gray going back and forth, but the maps aren't changing. You have to get down to the 10 meter, 100 meter mark in order to see the maps change. The maps are pretty stagnant. Now, Ukraine is conducting, for the most part, defensive operations. That's even when they go and do something like, blow up something deep in Russia. Those are defensive operations, really. Ukraine is conducting defensive operations. Russia is still trying to do limited attacks, but they're very limited. It's fucking, 10 guys on fucking Kawasaki's trying to take a trench that's 50 yards. It's just dumb. The reality is it's a waste of resources. But it does, from a strategic level, it does keep the Ukrainians occupied, right? And when you think about, when we think about troops, I talked about this last week, that we're all that the troops are all expendable. They're really expendable in Russia. Like, you could almost bet that there's a general going, when a fucking dude gets blown up by a drone, he's going, oh, Ukrainians got one less drone. Yep, that was a wasted drone. That was just a dude. That was just one dude.
Do they have medevac over there?
Fuck no, nobody does. Neither one of them.
No air assets.
No, there's no medevac. Like the Ukrainians are doing a better job. The Ukrainians do a better job of evacuating their wounded. They have some autonomous drones that can go out and pick up a guy, but for the most part, when someone gets wounded, you have to drag that wounded guy back through no man's land to a safe house, and then he stays in that safe house until something can get there to get him. Like anybody, if you're critical, like if you're critically wounded, those guys aren't making it. Doesn't matter which side. Those guys aren't making it. The Ukrainians are salvaging more of their wounded than the Russians are. The Russians aren't. They have nothing in place. Like there's nothing in place to evacuate wounded. If you get wounded, if you're a Russian and you get wounded, you better fucking start hobbling back to the rear, because ain't nobody coming up to get you. They can barely. The reality is, the Russians can barely get supplies to the front line. They can barely get water, let alone send a fucking vehicle to collect wounded. They can't do it.
So when we hear like North Korea is fighting with Russia, and there's supposed to be some Chinese over there, I guess.
Yeah, there are Chinese. There are Chinese.
How many? And are they combatants?
Yeah, the Chinese.
Because they're going over to get blooded.
I'm sorry. The Chinese, from what I understand, is the Chinese are providing leadership assets. The Chinese do not want. They can't. China can't have a Chinese general or even a Chinese lance corporal captured by the Ukrainians. That's bad news.
What would happen on that day?
Well, I think, we start talking more about NATO involvement. It's bad news. And the other thing too is China's current economy is collapsing. They need world support. They can't be embargoed. And so they're providing leadership, which is in the rear with the gear, not anywhere near Ukraine, as far as things like that. North Korea is actually providing foot soldiers. They've put 40,000 North Koreans on the ground in Ukraine that immediately got fucking mauled. But the North Koreans that are there now are smarter. They're smarter because they got bloodied. And so their training has changed. Like they were using, again, because it's North Korea and they haven't done anything since the 50s. They were using 1950s tactics to do shit and then just getting mauled by Ukrainian drones. So they've fixed that. And so they're still fighting. And I understand that the ones that are fighting are pretty good.
NATO involvement. What does that mean? Who would that be?
Oh, that's World War III. That's just World War III.
Because anything NATO does, it's the United States that has the teeth, right?
There's teeth there. Like again, I'll use Poland as the example because when you think about NATO, Poland's the only one over there flexing. Like they're like, let's do this. Like Poland's the only one that's flexing. Use Poland as an example. They could go far. Like if Poland had a secret meeting, they're like, "Fuck NATO, we're gonna make a run for Moscow." It would be because of the war, mind you, because of the war going on. It'd be very hard for the Russians to be like, "Oh shit, let's stop this." The Polish army could go probably really far into Russia. The problem with that is, again, we go back to things that have happened before. Now we're talking about a tactical nuclear weapon. If Russia uses a tactical nuclear weapon on its own soil to stop an invasion by a foreign army, can NATO respond to that? Can NATO then use a nuclear weapon? I don't think we would be in the right to use a nuclear weapon at that point. because Russia has always said that the only time they will use nuclear weapons is if our border has been crossed. So that's why when Ukraine went into Kursk, I was like, or I think it's Kursk, that when Ukraine took that big city, or that did put that pimple in the middle of Russia, I was like, oh shit, the Ukrainians just cut all the bridges. They've basically isolated themselves. I really thought that Russia was going to be like, boom, and blow that motherfucking place off the map. Because, again, it's Russian territory proper. They've always said that they would do it. They didn't do it. So the question is, if NATO crosses into Ukraine, does Russia push the button?
Why do you think they didn't do it?
Who?
Russia. Why
I
did they
don't
not?
know. I don't know why he didn't do it. There may be some, there always is, I don't want to say maybe, there always is some political considerations in the background that we don't know about.
Maybe none of the nukes worked.
Nah, I don't believe that. Not because, again, not when you're talking about the size. Like, that would have been, that would have been the size of Brandel's head. It didn't have to be a big one. Just the tactical. I am sure that the Russians from the 50s, from 1950s Soviet Union have a fucking bazooka nuke that they could have fired in there, right? Something dumb that would have been a low yield. Like, it would have been low yield, but it would have been the end of the incursion, right?
Had that happen, what do you think?
We would have. Everybody would have been like, "Oh my God!" We would have saber rattled, and they'd have been like, "NATO," and then nobody would have done shit. Because, again, that has been the party line since the Soviet Union. If you cross into the Soviet Union or you cross into Russia, we're going to use nukes to keep you from being able to invade our country. That's just that's the known entity. So, well, I'll give you an example. If Russia used a nuke in Ukraine, like just even a tiny one, little party nuke, used a tiny party nuke, NATO would be it would be World War III. It would be World War III.
How fast would troops leave the United States?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if, again, now we're talking about a different rabbit. We don't have to send troops if we're shooting missiles, right? But NATO would not even discuss it. They would go to war.
But if
with
we're
Russia.
shooting missiles, they're shooting missiles.
Shooting a fucking nuclear weapon inside of Russia to stop an invasion.
That's on their own.
You can saber rattle. You can be like, oh my God, I can't believe you poisoned the atmosphere with your nuclear bomb. But you can't really fucking fault them for doing that. You can't be like, that's against the Geneva. You don't have any footing to stand on to go, well, we're going to war with you. Now, a lot of the NATO countries are dumb and might decide to do that. Whatever.
Yeah, it's not their kids.
No, it will be their kids.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about
It's never the elites' kids though.
No, it'll be their elites' kids. Because if we're talking about a Russia that is backed into a corner, that has used a nuclear weapon to deter an invasion, and then the NATO allies decide that they're going to invade anyways, I would say that the safest place to be would be in those combat formations, because those nuclear weapons are not the nuclear weapons that you use to fight World War III are not aimed at combat formations. They're aimed at Paris. They're aimed at the fucking clock tower in Britain. They're not aimed at motherfucking combat formations. They're aimed at major metropolitans. It will be those rich kids that suffer the consequences of the ill-advised political aspirations of fighting Russia into submission. Anyways, General, stop being fat.
How many states are in National Guard is deployed to 6 states currently right now?
Something like that, yeah.
What are they doing?
Nothing wrong with that.
What are they doing?
I have no idea what they're doing. I would assume that they're doing the same thing that happened when we were in the LA riots, is they're filling positions that allow to free up law enforcement assets, so law enforcement assets can do the the hiring and the firing.
Whatever's going on, it's so good. They're so good that they're not on video, or it's so benign that they're not on video.
I mean, I've seen some pretty good takedowns, but again,
Is it guard guys doing it? I've just seen a lot of pepper ball shit.
I think because I tried to ascertain that is you don't know when you see the 5 guys come out all geared up and take somebody down and then drag them back in.
Could you imagine?
My guess is those are federal agents.
Could you imagine how hard it'd be to skip those pepper balls and not just shoot them straight?
I
in
think
the
they're shooting
face?
straight.
Are they not?
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of that. I see them shooting like in front of them and shit.
I know the guy that was on the federal building in the federal building at in Portland, and the shooting the protesters down that knew he was there, like they were like pointing it out. I know he was shooting them straight. So, because I don't think you have to.
They're saying Antifa kind of like fart in the wind, just disappeared.
Oh, because you have to think about the reality of what happened. What is happening is through Doge, federal tax-paying money is no longer going to these entities through these fake NGOs. Liberal Democrats that have a lot of money have stepped in to fill some of those gaps. Trump just basically said we're going to come after you for fucking
Rico.
providing these guys with. So the money's going to dry up, and the reality is outside of. I mean, unfortunately, this country has a large population of crazy Karens. Outside of some crazy Karens, the money dries up.
So rich guys
They're gonna
control your women. It's wine moms.
So outside of that, I think you're going to see all these. You're going to start seeing. What you're going to see is these mass protests dying off. Like the ones that have been on the street corner for 6 months, those are going to disappear. They're going to start dying off. But I also think we are going to see an increase of violence that is going to be way more dangerous than what they were doing. Because now you have radicalized people that were getting paid to go stand in front of the federal building. Now they're not getting paid anymore. There's still a group of dudes or dudettes that were doing it. They're going to go home and be like, we're not getting paid anymore. Let's go blow something up. Right? I think the violence is going to get worse.
Like Weather Underground kind of shit.
Yeah, like Weather Underground kind of shit, yeah. I think the violence is going to get worse. I think you're going to see more gunplay happen at individual places because it's more of an individual effort when they're doing that kind of stuff. So I think, again, it's going to get violently worse, but ultimately it's going to get better because those people are either going to end up self-fixing the problem or they're going to end up in jail. So
I saw George Soros released a comment finally last night about midnight or so, but I did not see the comment. Do you know what it was?
yeah, just him talking about he doesn't support terrorism and shit like that. But
Well,
the reality is,
Your 6 children do, and he's 85. I
yeah,
mean,
the
he's
reality
not
is we're way past George Soros. Like George Soros lives in
Davos or
somewhere over there, and it's his kids that are running this empire. So
That's who took over his corporation.
yeah, it's the kids that are running his empire. And as everyone knows, the kids of royalty are always worse than the original king. So, but
It was
again,
enough
the
that
minute
Soros obviously felt it enough that he felt he needs to, because they said they're coming after him.
because they're talking about taking his money. That's all. They're talking about taking his money. So he has to. I guarantee you, he brought all the kids in and was like,
Stop this.
"You're done fucking around."
Go get real jobs.
So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. That agenda is slowly strangling itself. Hopefully, but who knows?
You know who Sarah Adams is?
No.
CIA targeter.
Yeah.
Codename Superbad.
Yeah, now, I know who you're talking about now. Since
Dude, she's screaming from the rooftops. Any show that'll have her on, and I know some of those shows, they're not paying her to be there. And like she swears to God, there's a second 9/11 coming, and they've unraveled this. They found all this stuff,
but here's the Here's the problem with, I don't want to say a problem with her
Sure.
in particular, but she's looking for relevance because she's no longer part of the apparatus. So she's looking for relevance. She's been saying this for 3 years, since she's been 3 years, maybe even 4. She's been saying this skit for that much time. This is, first off, we're America. This is America. And a lot of people hate America. And so to say that we're in danger of a 9/11 happening again is, it's not that unfathomable, right? It's not like it's unfathomable that we could not have a major event happen in the United States. But again, I think she's just running around trying to stay relevant by saying this stuff, because again, if you have proof.
So is there a financial gain there somehow? Is she trying to sell a book, or
Well,
she
again,
just the
relevancy
attention?
is a financial game. If you're, as long as you have to stay relevant to be financially equitable anymore. If you're not relevant, then nobody cares. So I'm not saying she's doing it on purpose, but again, to say it's like if I went, John, you're going to get in a car accident. Here's all the evidence that shows you're going to get in a car accident. Well, there's a strong possibility that you could get in a car accident. That's part of the game. There's a strong possibility that somebody might come here and blow something up or shoot something. There's a strong possibility because of the way the world is now. The question is not, do people hate the United States enough to do another 9/11? Of course. The question is, what are we doing about it? And if you have physical evidence that backs that up, let's see it. Bring it out. Force the Department of Defense or the CIA, force them to do something about this. But again, it's the reality of these accusations. It's all hearsay, not supported by secondhand evidence. It's just it's the conversation that me and you had. 1 million people came across the border. How many of those 1 million people were known fucking terrorists?
10,000.
It doesn't matter what the number is, right? It doesn't matter what the number was. It could be 10,000. It could be all of them, right? The question is, them coming across the border and coming to the United States, was it to get away from the life they lived in before and accept the free money that the Biden administration was offering everybody who came across the border? Or was it a plot from a foreign government to get them here to blow up the Hoover Dam? You have to have credible evidence of whatever this plot is, and then you have to have support structure to make said thing happen. So, can we have another? Of course we can, but
Can the Hoover Dam be blown up?
I don't know if we can discuss that on the radio. But yeah, of course.
By 3 dudes in a kayak.
Haven't you ever seen Force 10 from Navarone? A dam is kind of easy. Bridges are hard.
What about the two? What about those machine gun mounts and those heavy artillery that are at the Hoover Dam? I don't think they're still in place, but the boxes. Do you know about that?
I mean, I'm sure that there was some.
They were worried about Nazis or something.
I'm sure that there was, especially if you're going back to World War II. Yeah, all major infrastructure in World War II was covered by some sort of home defense, because we thought that we believed that Nazi saboteurs were going to be more of a problem than they really were. But again, the Nazi saboteurs had the same problem that everybody has when they come to America. They had the same problem. They came to America and went, oh no, this ain't this. They looked at their little fucking spy explosives, and then they looked at America and went, oh, this isn't going to do anything. Like, it's not going to do nothing. Like, they literally had spies. They had spies come in. So their own people, spies, German spies who came here and sent messages back to fucking Germany and was like, they're making a B-24 Liberator every 24 hours.
There was a dude they found.
And the Germans went, that's a lie. That's not really happening. People just don't understand that. People just don't understand the how big America is, and how, if we put our mind to it, come on.
I don't remember where it was. I thought it was around the Hoover Dam someplace. They found a German soldier that had been living in a cave, and he'd been there for some years. Do you remember hearing this story?
I remember hearing a story about a suspected German spy who had been living in a cave out west somewhere.
Yeah, he would report in like every 6 months or 90 days or something.
The breadth and scope of because most people don't understand this. Germany itself, tiny, little teeny guy. Germany's tiny. Britain, tiny. They don't, and so because those places are so tiny, because when you think about getting on a train or backpacking across Europe, you can do that because Europe's not big. The United States, it's a different thing to say, hey, I'm going to backpack across the United States. Okay, we'll see you in a year.
Have you seen these guys in the UK? They're putting them in 2-year prison sentences for causing social media distress to other people.
Yeah, but Britain is
fallen.
I don't want to say fallen. It's pretty close. I mean, when you have the king, the monarch, come out of his private world and be like, elections now. Your government is a shit show. I don't understand, outside of they're still following the New World Order. I don't understand why British Parliament is putting up with all this New World Order bullshit still, and can't look around and go,
none of these people in charge.
None of this is working, guys. Why are we trying to do this? None of it's working. But
not only that,
the good news really is that it seems that the British people are not putting up with this anymore, and they are attempting to do peaceful regime change that could make a better Britain for the future. If the current ideas of government stay in place in England, they are lost. They're fucking lost. They're going to be. It's a prison camp. It's an open air prison camp at best. So they're lost. But I think, I would like to see King Charles, put on his fucking ceremonial sword and suit of armor or whatever and go right into Parliament and fuck you guys. I guarantee you.
Can he?
Technically, no. The monarchy they're split now. They're just, the monarchy is really just figureheads versus the actual government. But I think if King Charles, I believe that if King Charles went in there and really just was just went in there and be like, I'm the fucking king. You guys are done. We're going to fix this problem. I kind of think because there was a big period where the British people were not. They still celebrated the monarchy, but they were very indifferent to the monarchy, that it was just this thing and it didn't matter. And so I kind of think that King Charles has an opportunity to really bring back the idea of a fucking king, like a strong king that's there for the people. And I think the people would rally behind him. I think they would, if he went out there, if he went into Parliament and was like, fuck you guys, I'm taking control. I think the people would be like, are you doing it for us? If you're doing it for us,
manor
fuck
houses
those guys.
For everyone.
Yeah. So I think he has an opportunity, but he's not going to take it. I mean, because Charles is weak.
Can he even walk into Parliament?
Well, he can do whatever he wants. He's the king.
Which one's Charles?
Charles is the one that...
Not the redhead one.
No, Charles is... How do you not know who Charles is?
Was
Charles,
that Diane's husband?
No, Charles...
The next one.
Wait, I'm sorry. Yes, that was Diane's husband. He's the one that married Camilla after Diane died, and...
After he had her killed.
And the queen was like, you can't be the king ever. But succession is succession, and he's the current monarch. But he has an opportunity. I think he has an opportunity to make the idea of being British a great thing again.
They've got a great flag. It looks wonderful, painted on the side of cars and couches.
Yeah, he has a great opportunity to make the idea of being British a wonderful thing again, but I don't know if he has the
They need an Austin Powers.
intestinal fortitude to do it, right? I don't think he has the intestinal fortitude to do it. We'll see. I mean, they're supposed to be doing elections, but I don't know. We'll see.
So government shutdown.
Government shutdown. Did it really?
For
Oh my
about
God, the power
12,
didn't even turn off.
14, 15 hours. I did wake up this morning to see that the Democrats decided to go ahead and not shut down the government, but all the reporting this morning says it's been shut down for 9 hours.
It's a partial shutdown.
So then all the reporting says that 100,000 people are without jobs and are abandoning their government jobs. No, that's not true.
No, it's not true.
That's some Doge shit. They took the buyout, and now that date is come to pass.
Technically, it is true that 100,000 people,
but not for the reason they're saying.
100,000 people are retiring because they took the early buyout, so they're retiring. They haven't
been at work anyways.
They're not. They haven't been. But here's the crutch of the problem. The crutch of the problem is, and this is kind of, I think this is kind of why the Democrats are like partial shutdown, not full, because if we do a government shutdown, if we do a real government shutdown, that puts all the power back into the executive's hand, and now he can fire whoever the fuck he wants. He can he can fire 100,000 people, and we're in that position right now where Trump has the capability to do what Doge really couldn't do, just because we're in a government shutdown. Now, I kind of think the Democrats, because again, the Democrats blame everything on Trump, right? If a ICE agent pushes an elderly woman down by accident, or not even by accident, they'll be like, Trump did this. It's Trump's fault that this happened, right? They love blaming everything on Trump. So I kind of believe that the Democrats did this so that if he does fire 100,000 people, or he does fire whatever, he does fire people, that they can be like, Trump did this. Trump is the one that fired these people. Trump, we are here for the people. But again, I don't think the Democrats understand that the people voting for Donald Trump voted for him to do this. So it's that thing again where Democrats, because they can't, because they have such derangement syndrome and can't really go, what do we lose or what do we benefit by going against Trump? I think even if Trump fucking fires 100,000 people, he's still going to come out on top, because it's what the voters voted for: smaller government.
Yeah, all the approval numbers don't show that it's like white dudes that are swapping. Some of the Democrats have obviously registered as Republicans or are taking polls and saying they support Republicans, but most of it's black people, Mexicans, and there was a third one in there, and those numbers have bolstered up. His ratings are higher, and the Democrat numbers are lower than they've ever been. I don't remember what pollster, what group it was that was doing these surveys, but they talked about the history of them, and they've done these surveys for like the last 20 years.
Like the thing that they keep, you keep hearing the Democrats saying, this is going to be Donald Trump has created a health crisis. This is going to be a health crisis of immense proportion.
They want to give medical to everyone.
No, they wanted to give medical to illegals, illegal immigrants. Not to this again. Government-funded programs do not end for U.S. citizens. They will be ending for people who are here illegally.
Yeah, I saw the Maxine
Waters thing. It's all horseshit again. And the reality is, I think that all the things that it's funny when you hear the Democrats. When you hear the Democrats like, we just want to talk. We want to go into negotiations. We want to negotiate. The Republicans won't negotiate. But then they have 5 demands. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not negotiation. Those are demands, right? I think Trump should go in there and be like, okay, you can have the $500 billion for Medicare, but we're going to audit everybody that gets Medicare.
Well, that's what they're on about. Yeah. They're on about the auditing.
If they're not legal, then they ain't getting the money.
That's where the problem lies.
So-
because it's graft.
Yeah.
If we're voting to send money to Ukraine, the only motherfucking thing on there should be sending money to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't have shit to do with a dam we're building in Ohio or fucking any other shit that's going on. But they bury all that shit in there.
Yeah. So again, I don't know if this is going to negatively affect Donald Trump, because people wanted. The reality is they wanted it. It's like the Department of Defense. Like, there's a bunch of really nobodies. Like, they're just nobodies who are like, don't follow his orders, ignore, generals, ignore his thing, blah, blah, blah. Don't do the thing. And it's like,
Aren't they arresting those people right now?
well, if they're, depends on,
In uniform.
it depends. Yeah, but like, it's a trickery that they're doing Like, they're like the latest one is this Captain Doyle Donkey Dick or whatever. He's in uniform, t-shirt, pants, and he's talking about this, and he says he's a captain in the U.S. He says he's captain, I believe, in the Army. I'm not 100% sure, but he says all that stuff. But then in the footnotes, he's like, retired. So he's not real. Like, the thing he doesn't understand is retirees are still subject to the UCMJ. If the War Department, I love calling it the War Department, if the War Department decided that they wanted to charge him with committing a crime, they can do that. He's still under the UCMJ, because if he's retired, that means he's still getting a check from the Pentagon. So they can like, not that it would ever happen, but theoretically the Marine Corps or the Department of Defense could be like, hey, Scully, guess what? Somehow we forgot how to use sniper rifles. We're bringing you back in. They can do that. They could do that if they wanted to. And I could be like, no! It wouldn't matter. They could still bring me in off act. They could still bring me in from inactive reserve and put me in service.
Who would you tell them they have to bring with you?
Only because I know it would ruin his life, but also make him very happy. Is I would be like, the only way I'm going back is if you can bring my marksmanship instructor with me. And I would make John Sperling go to Camp Pendleton and do a PFT. Oh my God. And that would be, I think that would, Pete, if you're listening to this, you need to
Get ready.
Just for funnies, Pete. Just for funnies. You need to bring me and John Sperling back into the Marine Corps, and it'd just be funny. Day one, we get back, we have to do a PFT. That would be hilarious. It would be the funniest thing that ever happened. Yeah, I think day one PF. I wonder what. I'll have to look it up, but we would get. Our PT score can be a little bit lower because we're old.
Would you bring Joseph?
Nah, he's got
No.
Nah, Joe don't want to go. He would bitch the whole time. He wouldn't want to go.
Bring Wojcik?
Only if they were serious. Like, if they were serious, I think Kalen would want to do it. Like, if I'm like, that's ridiculous. I have no idea how to fucking operate a sniper rifle anymore. I'm too old. But I think Kalen would be like, he'd be all about it. Like, Kalen would be like, yeah, I'm going to revamp the entire program.
We're finally going to shoot some people with 6.5.
I probably talk you out of 6.5. 6.5 is for kids. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great what would you say, has-been snipers out there that would love to go back on active duty just to run a program again. That would be awesome. But again, I think it would just be funny to bring us all back in, and then the problem is Kalen would pass the PFT, that son of a bitch. He's in great shape. He'd pass the PFT. Oh, man. So, but yeah, who wouldn't, I've said this all along. I know I bitch a lot about the state of things, right? And I always look at it as a command structure thing. Marines in general are the same, I think. Because again, I was fortunate enough to be around the 23-year-olds, the 18 to 23-year-olds my entire career. And outside of their names changing, the Marines were all the same. They were all exactly the same. And so I would go back today if I could go, if the Marine Corps was like Old Fart Battalion, or I would go back. No problem. I love the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps as an institution, as an idea, is the greatest service no matter what.
8541 is Marine Scout Sniper?
Not anymore.
Well, but it was.
It was 100 years ago.
That was the MOS.
Yes. And then it changed to 0317,
Which is?
Scout Sniper.
Okay. Why did they change that? Why did that happen?
Because 8541 wasn't real. So 8541 wasn't a real trackable MOS. So it didn't really, in the big scheme of things, it didn't really matter that you had an 8541 MOS. It was just it was kind of
Is it just like
a rider.
Is that just like the name change when Anglico became MLE?
Different.
Because they lost the flag, the colors fell, and somewhere, is that how that happened?
Oh, I don't know anything about that. I think 19 is the only, I might be wrong. I think 19 is the only battalion that lost colors.
Master Sergeant, you can answer that question. I know you're listening.
But no, kind of different. Is basically what happened is 8541 was like this, even though it was an official designator, it was like an unofficial tracking device. It didn't matter that you were an 8541. When they made it 0317, that made it an official, trackable, placeable MOS. So meaning now the battalions had an MOS designator that had a requirement for filling. You didn't really have a requirement. You really didn't have a requirement for filling when they were 8541s. So while they had Scout Sniper platoons, right? You had stay platoons and Scout Sniper platoons. The requirement for filling was at the battalion level. Once you created that permanent MOS, it now became a Marine Corps problem. So the Marine Corps had to be like, okay, 1-1 is getting ready to deploy. How many fucking 0317s do they have? And then they would find an 0317 that was, packing boxes as an MCRD and be like, you're going to fucking 1-1 or whatever. So
You think that guy was happy about that?
Oh, hell yeah, he was.
So there is no more Marine Scout Sniper?
Officially, there is no Marine Scout
So
Sniper.
do they still hold that MOS number, or do they have to change to something else?
Well, okay, so it's a secondary MOS.
Okay. So
Okay,
because
because
like 0311 or something?
yeah, because you remember it's
21s.
03, so 0317. Well, you have to be an 0311 to become an 0317.
Okay.
So now you're just an 0311, right? And who knows what their designators are now, because the Marine Corps is always, since we've got these weird commandants, Marine Corps is always trying to do some dumb shit that doesn't make any sense.
So is MARSOC 03?
Their initial MOS would be
Did they change MOS?
MARSOC has its own designation, and I don't know what they do now. But before they were doing it like Green Berets, where they were taking anyone, meaning all you had to do was volunteer to go, and if you panned out and passed selection, then you would get the MARSOC designator. But I think you could have been an artillery guy or a tank guy.
But MARSOC has to be a Marine?
Yeah, MARSOC is all Marines. It's all Marines. There's no, well, I mean, I'm assuming that they have Navy corpsmen, MARSOC. They have to have Navy corpsmen, so not all Marines, but 99% Marines. But that should go away too.
Should go or is?
Should go away.
Why?
Because it just pulls talent from the actual Marine Corps and puts it under the JSOC umbrella.
But that's what they were looking for, wasn't it?
What?
Didn't the Marine Corps want something under the JSOC umbrella? Or is it vice versa? SOCOM wanted something.
SOCOM wanted, so basically, SOCOM, and this goes way back. This is not, like, there's nobody in MARSOC right now that even is relative to this conversation. SOCOM wanted force recon. So SOCOM wanted force recon. Not for CQB, not for fucking direct action. They wanted force recon for long-range reconnaissance.
Wouldn't that be more recon? Like,
No, force recon. They wanted, because again, it's how things, and I'm going to fuck this up, and I know that there's going to be somebody out there that's like, the miles are different. It's about area of influence. So, like scout snipers operate within the area of influence of a battalion TO&E, are supposed to. Battalion TO&E weapon systems. So we're 1 mile to 4 miles. Battalion Recon picks up the slack for scout snipers, and they're out past the 4 mile. I think it's 4 miles to 10 miles. Again, these numbers might be a little varied, but that's the transition. And then force recon is deep reconnaissance. They're outside of supporting arms, so they're doing deep reconnaissance. They're doing that behind enemy lines kind of reconnaissance, and that's what they wanted. They wanted that asset because at the time nobody was doing it as good as the Marine Corps was doing it. Like force recon they were doing that very well.
so where did they pick up that like direct action mission, like the hostage
Well,
rescue and go plats and?
The problem is where that mission got picked up was because of the MU SOC. We wanted that MU to be out there to be able, because
Not have to call a SEAL team.
well, no, because the SEALs were part of it. Basically, when a MU, we're going back. We're going to go way back, guys. You're going to have to get your textbooks out for this because it's not on your phone.
Like ultimate,
Marine Corps-
ultimate jungle boot back.
Yeah, definitely Jungle Boot still. The Marine Corps was trying to fill a niche for America. And I think we should go back to this. I think the Marine Corps should go back to this. Fuck all this joint bullshit. Oh, fuck it. The Marine Corps should go back to this. What the Marine Corps was pushing late 80s, all through the 90s, even kind of close to the 2000s, but not so much. We were getting sidetracked. Is the Marine Corps' ability to be like the 911 force for the world, for America. If there's a fucking thing going on somewhere in the world, some dictators needs a fucking slap, the Marine Corps is going to go in there and slap them. If we're cruising through the fucking, into the Persian Gulf and some hostages get taken, guess what? There's a force recon, there's a direct action asset right there that has SEALs, force recon, trailers ready to go who could take that fucking target. So you don't have to fly 2 fucking SEALs from Virginia and have them parachute do all this other shit to make this thing happen. We were the 911 force, and contrary to current Marine Corps think, the Marine Corps was doing everything in the 90s. The Army wanted to be the Marine Corps. Like they were trying to figure out how to adjust their light fighters to emulate the Marine Corps more because we were doing everything. Right? If there was an embassy, if an airplane got shot down, it was the Marine Corps was going to do that. And that's really what I know Marines are going to be mad, but that's really what we're designed for. We're designed to be this fucking light, versatile, fast force that has all the assets necessary to do small scale war anywhere in the world whenever we need to do it. And the Army, the reality is, the U.S. Army should be the fucking hammer. That's all. It's the goddamn, if the Army shows up, we're going to fucking blow everything up, destroy everything. It's the Army. Heavy tanks, heavy artillery, missiles. That's what the Army should be doing. The Marine Corps is more like, out of control party. We're going to send the Marines in there. They're going to break a bunch of shit. And then they're going to go home. And we won't have this fucking, world crisis that we have when we fucking destroy everything. But we've gotten away from the idea of that, and we've started to evolve into this like we need joint ready. We don't need that. What you need the Marine Corps to be the most important piece on the table, not another fucking pawn. The Army, because the reality is JSOC, contrary to, I know, God, the fucking MARSOC guys are going to hate me, but you guys are, again, you're ninjas. So suck it up. JSOC don't need MARSOC. They don't need this giant command, that this thing that went from Det 1 to MARSOC has ballooned into this huge command with fucking thousands of officers and fucking support and all this other. It's ballooned into its own fucking animal. They don't need that. JSOC don't need that. They don't need any of it. The Marine Corps gave it up because what the Marine Corps at the time thought, and you could trick yourself into believing this. That a guy was going to go to MARSOC, get all ninja fucking badass, get all these cool JSOC classes and learn how to fucking, do all this special training. And then he was going to come back and be a platoon sergeant. That don't happen. There's no fucking JSOC. There's no MARSOC guys that are out there fucking leading rifle platoons. It don't happen. First off, the dude's too qualified. He's overqualified for the job of platoon sergeant. And he's a fucking asset to JSOC. They're not going to let him go.
He's not on recruiting duty.
No, he's not going to recruiting duty. He's not fucking... So it's one of those things where the Marine Corps... And in order to do it, they had to gut... Like... They probably don't notice it now. Like, maybe they don't notice it now. Because it's been a long time. But they had to gut Force Recon. Like, they
to stand up one.
They fucking took a hammer and a fucking wrecking ball to Force Recon in order to get MARSOC numbers.
Where were they based out of?
Initially it's the East Coast, but they have MARSOC on the West Coast now.
At Camp Pendleton?
Mm-hmm. Maybe they may have. Again, I'm not in. They may have collapsed them down to one command, I think. I think I heard something like that. But they had to gut those assets. And then what did they do? They gutted Battalion Recon, too, because they had to fill higher assets. And so the talent pool that you had... Like, we had an NFL team. We had a fucking real, legit NFL team in the Marine Corps. We had them. And we just gave them away. And now we've got... Sorry... But we got high school football teams out there playing. They're not nowhere near the level of the Vinny Palooza, sorry, Vinny.
How long would it take to stand that back up to that level?
Well, they would have to kill MARSOC. Because again, you have to think about the reality. The reality is this, John. You're a fucking young kid off the street and you're like, I'm going to be Battalion Recon. I'm a fucking Battalion Recon dude. You go through SOI. You take your NDOC, if they even do that anymore. You get to Battalion Recon. When you get to Battalion Recon, you kick ass. You fucking do everything the Battalion Recon wants you to do. But what are you going to do? You're going to go like this. You're going to look over the horizon, you're going, those Force Recon guys, they don't have to stand in formation. They don't have to do all this dumb barracks inspection shit. I'm going to go to Force Recon. And you go to Force Recon. Spend 6 months at Force Recon, and then you go, holy shit. I should take the NDOC for fucking MARSOC, and then I don't have to deal with any of this bullshit. So no matter what, the talent pool's out. The talent pool goes out the door.
So Force Recon is just a pipeline to MARSOC.
For those that are able, yeah. Your talent pool goes out the door. Why would you I mean, the reality is you're not going to stay on the college football team. Not when the pros are right there. You want to play the real game. So go to, I hate MARSOC. But people will take that wrong. But from a Marine's perspective, from a warfighter, if you are a warfighter, MARSOC is the place you have to be. That's where you have to go. If you want to fucking be a warfighter, if you want to stay in the fight till you're a goddamn like they got mass sergeants out there fucking running around. If you want to stay in the fight, you've got to go to MARSOC. You've got to go. Like I'm sure some of my snipers will tell you every time one of my snipers is like, I'm gonna take the NDOC. Every time I'd be like, I'm tearing my clothes of you. You're dead to me. You're fucking dead to me. Leaving the community to go over there. But again, if you want to stay in the fight, if you want to be a war fighter, that's the transition you had to make. Because a scout sniper, what's he gonna do? He's gonna, if he's lucky, he's a sniper by corporal. He gets to do a deployment. He gets to do a full deployment as a fucking scout sniper. Then he gets back. Maybe he picks up sergeant. Now he's got all kinds of other bullshit that opens up in the Marine Corps that don't have anything to do with warfighting. A fucking recruiter, barracks duty, all this shit that has nothing to do with being a warfighter. Take the NDOC. Take the NDOC, go to MARSOC. All that stuff is gone.
Did you see that video I sent you comparing a 249 to a Fight Light? Is it Fight Light? Mm-hmm. That's that belt fed you have. Did you see? So the Fight Light with an FRT trigger, rate of fire compared to a 249.
Okay.
Did you see the video?
I didn't watch
it?
the video. Yeah.
Dude, they looked almost identical.
Yeah, but again, the problem with those comparisons. So if you're going to compare the 240, if you're going to compare, I know Marines, your gear is worn out, but the SAW is a true game changer if you know how to operate it.
This looked like a brand new one they had.
If you take the two together and you put them together, and you use them the way they're supposed to be used, support by fire positions, things like that. If you use them the way they're supposed to be used, this weapon system, the Fight Light, will no longer exist while this thing is still going. It's not robust enough to handle. It's not robust enough to handle that type of fire.
That rate of fire.
That rate of fire
capacity.
It's just not robust enough.
Okay.
It doesn't have. Well, they're excellent. And if I was
melt the barrel down.
Well, just the interior. Like if you take a look at a SAW, it's steel. It's not aluminum. Okay, it's steel. Most of the parts on there. I mean, there's aluminum rail. I get it. There's parts in there that are aluminum, guys, but it's not an AR-15. And an AR-15 upper and lower is not designed to handle the type of fire that a SAW was specifically designed to handle. If I was a ninja, like if I was in special forces, a Fight Light seems like a good support weapon to have available to you. But if I have a rifle platoon and you tell me you're going to get rid of all my saws and give me fucking Fight Lights, I'm like, can I keep 2 saws? Because those ain't going to make it. They're just not, again, they're not developed to handle the stressors that a saw was developed to handle. And if you have, again, the problem that the Marine Corps has, I don't know if it has it anymore because they got rid of the saws. But the problem that the Marine Corps has is whatever the heaviest item is, so if there's an item that's heavy, they give it to the newest person. So you never keep the expertise on the weapon system that you should be keeping on the weapon system, right? They don't do that. They just
What'd they replace the saw with?
Well, that HK
Still a belt fed?
No. The Marine Corps decided that they were going to go with a automatic rifleman.
Is this that 40 round thing?
Yeah,
with the PMags?
So automatic rifleman, and that's how they got the HK into inventory. So how they got the HK into inventory was like, oh, we're going to get rid of our saws, and you're going to give us these full auto HKs, and we're going to turn those into BARs, or
Yeah.
we're going to turn those into your automatic riflemen.
There's a company selling those civilian-wise. It's like supposed to be straight on par with them.
What, the HKs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I bet they're $5,000.
Yeah, they're costly, but
Yeah.
they're supposed to be beautiful.
When you get yours, get me one too. But again, so that's what they sold it as they were going to, and as the Marine Corps is probably learning I guess not the hard way because it was a trick, but you cannot replace. There's no such thing as replacing a belt-fed weapon system with a magazine-fed weapon system. The rate of fires will never be the same. It's not compatible. It is the reason why we have belt feds. It's the reason why we didn't get rid of belt feds is because it's just not the same thing. And so the Marine Corps used that trick. It was a trick though. The Marine Corps did is they got that fucking weapon system in the armory. So now I have this dude that's got this fucking HK, and he's the coolest guy in the platoon because he's the automatic rifleman. What do you think? Do you think the juniorist guy gets that? No, the juniorist guy's not carrying that fucking thing anymore because it's the coolest. It's the coolest weapon you have in inventory.
Isn't it still heavier than an M4 though? By
Yeah,
a
well,
lot?
yeah, they're not by a lot, So what did the Marine Corps do? The Marine Corps was like, hey, we want everybody in the infantry to have one of these.
So is the load carriage system the same for that rifle as an M4?
Yeah, it's just M16, man.
So they're using 30s.
Yeah, I without checking with my my insider information, I would highly doubt that the Marine Corps bought special magazines for those weapons. They're probably still just using 30-round magazines for, even when it was the automatic rifleman, right? I bet they didn't buy any 40-round mags for it. Or if they did, they're not using them because it's not standard.
I think you can't shoot off the bipod with the 40.
Well, you're not shooting that again.
It's not a lay down.
It's
gun.
not a fucking.
Okay.
It's not a bipod. That's the Hollywood doctrine that they do to get at it to adopt, but that's not how it's being used to fight. I mean, 90% of the saw engagements I saw were not not laying down in the prone on the bipod. They were fucking from the hip.
You ever see them do CQB with a saw?
I've seen people do it. Yeah.
That seems like the way to do it.
Well, again,
if you don't have hostages.
Again, is we.
Does Z do a belt-fed CQB class? Ask him. Tell him I'm asking.
We tend to. Here's the problem. This is the problem we ran into in Iraq and Afghanistan is when you teach everybody to do CQB. When you teach everybody to do CQB, they want to do CQB. Right? Because I've taught you how to do CQB, now everybody wants to do CQB instead of hardening your perimeter and just blowing the fucking target up. So you have these casualties that happen that are unnecessary when you could just blow the fucking building up. But because we taught everybody to do CQB, everybody wants to do CQB.
But weren't we looking for intel?
No, I'm not.
Where are you going to get all your homemade porn tapes from?
When it's Delta Dan and they're hitting an identified target, then yes, you want to get intel. Okay, you want to get what's in there. When it's U.S. Marines, U.S. Army, cordon and blow the motherfucker up. Whatever intel you needed is still going to be in there when you go inside. Still going to be in there. Might be in a couple pieces, and some dude at Langley's going to be like, "What the fuck? I gotta put it in the oven to get this shit to look right," and then they'll figure it out. But again, at that level, there's not going to be any intel that is worth Marines or soldiers going house to house to house to house doing CQB. It makes no sense. Blow it up. Have a fucking M1 Abrams turn around and then just drive through the building or fire directly into it. There's no reason to.
Are you saying drive through it backwards?
Yeah.
Why?
So you don't want a turd or something getting stuck in the barrel and then
Does that
blow
happen?
your gun up. I don't know. I just made that up on the spot. I'm not even a tanker.
Did you ever operate with a tank?
Operated with a tank, yeah, it's fucking badass. Both M60. God, it's gonna. You guys are gonna be able to date me, huh? M60 A2s and M1 Abrams.
I asked Glenn yesterday. I'm asking you now. Were you a Woodland Marine or a Marpat Marine?
Woodland, yeah, Woodland Marine. I mean, I heart to heart, I am a Marpat Marine, because here's the truth: Woodland didn't belong to us. Woodland was some fucking hand down that the Army gave us, and we made it look better because we put fucking EGAs on it. But it didn't belong to us. It was service wide. Everybody wore Woodlands. Marpat?
You mean you pinned an EGA on it?
No, you ironed it right on the pocket.
Got
bro.
it. Okay, but it wasn't like in your fucking.
No, it wasn't in your thing. Marpat is Marine Corps. That belongs to the Corps. So I was raised on Woodland, but I'm a Marpat to die.
I heard Marpat was going away and they're picking something else up. But then I heard the other day that they just built a ton of new shit. Like the warehouses are fucking completely full. Like the whole MRE thing, right? You're like, they probably got some new MREs. The warehouses are full. Like they're just
Well,
fucking like they can't hold any more of this shit.
Okay, the MRE one's easy to explain, and I thought I explained it to you. MRE one's easy to explain. You have to remember, the services in general, every year.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine, but every year they buy a certain amount of MREs for operating within that year. So they basically take a look at operations that happened last year, or let's say, because the military buys everything in 5-year increments anyways. They look at the last 5 years and they go, over the last 5 years, we used 20 million MREs in support of operations and training. And so the Department of Defense goes, I need 25 million MREs. And they get 25 million MREs made for the next 5 years or whatever, the next procurement cycle. Well, nobody was training during COVID. Like, nobody was training. Nobody was in the field. Nobody was doing shit. That's why we have fat generals now, because nobody was doing anything. They weren't even PTing. And so now you have all these fucking MREs that are still... You go, I have to buy 25 more million MREs this year, or I got to buy 10% more. Where am I going to put them? I know, we'll just get rid of them. And that's why you're seeing all these MREs flood the market, because they can't, when you buy 25 million MREs, what you do is you look down the hall, and over the years, that pile of boxes gets smaller and smaller. And then at the end of the year, trucks come in and they fill that motherfucker up with more MREs. But if this building is full of Cobra buckles, and you have to buy Cobra buckles, or because here's the other little secret thing that people don't understand, is if this building is full of Cobra buckles, and it's the end of the year, it's procurement time, it's time to buy Cobra buckles, and you're like, I don't need any. Yeah, I don't need any. I don't need no Cobra buckles. Next year, when you go to buy Cobra buckles, Amanda's going to be like, motherfucker, you don't need any. You don't need none. You told us you don't need Cobra buckles. So that's kind of the animal that's in the Department of Defense, is they have to keep buying.
Yeah.
They have to keep buying.
So MREs are going for like $25 a case.
That's like some 1980s prices.
But it costs $25 to
Yeah,
ship the
that's
case.
the problem.
So, how many fit on a pallet? 72?
It's either 72 or 48. I don't know. I've
So
never
that's
seen
the
a
way
pallet
to,
of MREs.
That's the way to move them. Buy the case
I've
on
never
a
seen
pallet and then just have it freighted in.
Yeah, I've never seen a pallet of MRE. Well, I lie. All those MREs we burned in Kuwait were on pallets. So, yeah. They do fit on pallets. I'm thinking I think it's 48.
So
I think 72 would be too tall.
Cody goes, hey, there's a box of MREs up front here. And I look, and sure as shit, there's a brand new box of MREs. And I'm like, I didn't order a fucking box of MREs. I'm like, Amanda, why'd you order MREs? She's like, I didn't order MREs. I'm like, what the fuck? She's like, your name's on it. So I'm like, oh, somebody sent me some MREs. We pick it up, but it's not heavy enough to be. I'm like, what in the world? So I open it up. It's full of fucking 1-quart canteens.
Oh.
I had ordered a bunch of 1-quart canteens.
Yeah.
They put them in an MRE box, and it was sealed up, like glued, like the MREs come and shit.
Huh, that's interesting.
And it's a brand new MRE box.
That's interesting.
It's super interesting.
Yeah,
I love the way they shipped it, though.
Yeah, that's super interesting. But yeah, buying them by the case would be the way to do it.
By the pallet.
Or yeah, by the pallet, and then or the real way to do it would be
Just go pick them up if they're
is
close
yeah
enough.
you SOE needs to buy me a 5-ton, and then I'll drive it to wherever the MREs are, and we'll fill the 5-ton up with MREs, and then I'll drive it back.
You know, we can do it a lot cheaper than
That'll
a 5-ton.
save it. No, what truck could you buy? What truck could you buy that has that capacity that we could get for that price? I mean, 5-ton, nice 5-ton, like parade ready 5-ton, $10,000.
He sold his for 13.
How long did he sit on it? That's what I'm saying. I could get a nice 5-ton for $10,000.
His was pretty nice.
Yeah.
His
So
was pretty nice. You can take that Dodge with that 30-foot trailer and put lots of MREs on that motherfucker.
Dodge wouldn't make it. That's too heavy for the Dodge. Too heavy. You need dual axles in order to.
We'll put your 5-ton on the Dodge.
We need dual axles for MRE hauling.
We got a guy. He'll bring them straight to us.
Well, that's even better.
He's a hotshot driver. All right, you ready to wrap this up? Do some quick
Yeah,
Q&A?
we were like 2 hours.
They like it.
Do they? No, they don't. They don't ask any questions. They never ask questions.
There's a lot of questions.
No. How many?
We'll see. Let's find out. All right, guys. If you like this and you're listening to this right now, you're a member. If you're listening to this and you're like, this came out, this seems like it's old, it's because you're not a member. It comes out to you for free months later. $10 is the membership. $10. And if you click on any of those links in there for Amazon, anything, it takes you to Amazon. Anything you buy gives us a small percentage of your order. Does the exact same thing on your end. So thank you for being here. We're going to go do Q&A if you're a member on our Patreon or a member. Once a week, we post up, hey, ask your questions. We build a video similar to this one, but specifically for the members and the questions that you asked. So if you didn't like this one, become a member. Ask your questions. We can talk about anything you want on the private videos. See you guys later.
Built this